Hi, John. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for inviting me over here.
Absolutely. I was wondering if for our audience you could tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
So I am John Benedict Cabano, and I run the Vasectomy Center here in Washington, Seattle, Washington. And we have two locations, one in Issaquah and one in Shoreline, which is kind of like the borders of Seattle, the eastern border and the northern border. And I'm family practice trained, and um, I do a lot of men's health as well, but really my main focus is male reproductive care.
And what brought you to that practice?
I grew first of all, I grew up among four brothers, so we were all boys, and my dad's ex-military, and he sent us to an all boys school. So with the background of the only people I knew were men from first grade till I graduated high school. Women were kind of like aliens to me in a way. And so I think as I was doing my family medicine practice, it gave me a one up on understanding men. Like I understood the jocks, I understood, the scholars, the more kind of craftsmen, and so I got a good sense of male psychology and care, and it just gravitated towards it. And so when I met Doug Stein, who trained me how to do vasectomy. He got me into doing medical missions and whatnot. And from then on, I just had this like it just blew up. I got into the field, I got into the science, I got into like cases, part of discussions. So it's been an amazing experience, honestly.
That's great. And so, coming at it from that men's health perspective, I think it sounds like, working with World Vasectomy would be kind of like a natural progression. But what is World Vasectomy Day to you? Why is it important for the world and maybe even at this time?
I think whenever you think about healthcare and reproductive care when around the world, you always see programs that are geared towards women, and that's through whether locally here in the United States or internationally. There's this kind of hidden kind of pressure that it's really on the women's side or onus on the women to handle reproductive care. There was this really interesting podcast called Intended. If you guys listen to podcasts, and they really discuss the history of reproductive care
Hmm.
and why um, women were left with the pills and all this other stuff. Very interesting podcast. But World Vasectomy Day to me is a way to kind of promote the idea that men can step up and be responsible for their own reproductive care.
Yeah, no, and I think working on the reproductive right side myself, I have definitely seen, and being a woman too, seeing that the onus has been on us for a very long time. And it's nice to see kind of this movement toward men taking responsibility, which actually means to me a change in what it means to be a man and like change in masculinity too. I don't know if you see it that way, but I know for a long time I've had people around me like, ew, I would never do that. I'd never get a vasectomy.
Yeah.
Um, but it seems like things are changing.
Yeah, things are, and good. Thanks to World Vasectomy Day and the work of the team. I think it didn't start like a big group, but it's grown. There's a lot of more awareness, and it's still growing every year. In fact, so I think it's a really important group.
And just in terms of your job and your everyday life, like what gives you satisfaction about your work? Like what differences do you see that your work makes in men's and couples' lives?
I think That's probably one of my most favorite part of doing vasectomy is chatting with the guys. We talk about patients who don't want kids, patients who've had kids, had a change in their family life and don't want kids, patients who are really really worried, who don't see doctors, who are very scared of the procedure or what it entails, but to have four children and are just struggling to get past this, and each one is as important to me as as the VIP patient. I treat each patient as because it's their story is super important to me, and the way their lives changes after the procedure is just amazing. And you know they often tell me how their spouses say, "Hey, I produced three children and whatnot," and definitely it is a lot harder when you in a woman's body, and they have to handle all a huge amount of work on building a family and birthing a child, but it doesn't take away from the bravery of these guys who are or taking the initiative to step up for the family and whatnot.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much for talking with us today, John.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.